Okay, we're going to take a look at a pretty modern engine. This happens to be a V8 engine and 8 cylinders. Again, this would be something that we might see used as either an inboard-outboard configured unit or a full inboard gasoline-fueled engine. And I want to kind of go over the engine and point out some of the components on it to help you to be able to identify these in a real-world situation. So starting right at the top, we've got our backfire flame arrestor, which is required under U.S. Coast Guard regulations. This particular engine is a throttle body fuel injection design. So this replaces a carburetor. We see some electronic control boxes, which I believe are going to be for the ignition system as well as the fuel injection system. They are mounted with cooling fins and in an area where there'd be a lot of air exchange to keep the electronics from overheating. We've got our alternator over here. This one's a V-belt drive design. The down lower we have a power steering pump that's going to help out with a hydraulic steering system. Down here, this lower pulley is what we call the raw water pump, which is bringing seawater in to distribute it through the engine. These red buttons represent circuit breakers for some of the on-engine electrical devices, starter circuits. These are thermal breakers that are resettable if they should trip. Our valve covers are here, and under these we'd have rocker arms and things of that nature that open and close the valves inside the engine. These are our exhaust manifold risers here. Another one over here. And these come in different heights to assist in making sure that we don't get any water back in through the exhaust into the engine. So depending on the relative height of the engine in the boat, we would use different height risers. So water gets injected and shot out the exhaust. It's a water-cooled exhaust system. We'll stop the vid for a minute and move toward the back of the engine, and I can show you some of the other components there. Okay, some of the components that we see on the backside of this engine are our ignition distributor and high tension spark plug wires. These are pretty much fading away and not found as often on the very newest engines, but of course were quite common on older engines, and it's a service and maintenance item. The engine is electronic ignition, but there are still components like the plug wires and the distributor cap and the rotor under it that would need periodic checking and maintenance. Here we have a heat exchanger. I'm not exactly sure what it's for. It looks like it's for the fuel system, where we're actually cooling down the fuel before it enters into the engine. So our fuel goes through here, and then these are water lines that are going to force water around to help pull heat away from the fuel, because hot fuel is not going to work as well in the engine as cooled down fuel. This very complicated looking device with the 2 stainless steel lines going to it is also a fuel recirculation device that's engine mounted, so that we don't have to return fuel all the way back to the fuel tank on a closed fuel injection system. This is a very important component within the fuel injection system. So it's a combination of a high pressure pump and a vapor separator recirculator, all built into one component. So this is a typical look at some of the components as found on a throttle body V8 gasoline fueled engine.